Hi everyone. Today I want to talk to you about one key component of the psychology of freeing yourself. As you know, freeing yourself is getting more and more difficult simply because, just like when you have a lot of very small bubbles, they tend to coalesce and form bigger bubbles. In the same way people form groups, they form corporations, and then once the barrier to entry to any specific market is the corporation, then an individual can only be a small cog in that machinery of wealth production. That happens to be something that is pretty much antithetical to human development and well-being, because you lose your sense of agency, you lose the sense of hunting successfully, and you get into a sort of learned helplessness state even if you're making a lot of money. This may not apply to the most superficial and trivial of the people out there who are busy taking the petty cash, because that's all it is, taking some petty cash from their employer and wasting it in things that they don't need so they can show other people that they've got them. Or perhaps it applies even to them, and the only reason they're doing these things is to fill the void that their choice of lifestyle, which sometimes isn't a choice. Sometimes the only thing you can do is get into a company and work for someone, but it creates this void that perhaps these people are just trying to fill by saying, all right, I'm going to convince myself that this is great. How am I going to do that? Well, I'm going to take all this money they're giving me and spend it on stupid shit and show other people what kind of lifestyle I've got. Yeah, lifestyle of waking up at 7 in the morning, chronically sleep deprived, with consequent premature aging of all the tissues in your body, including your brain, leading at some point to Alzheimer and other neurodegenerative diseases. And you go somewhere to follow orders and sit down and shut up, because that's what all jobs are. I don't care what kind of level you've got. Even if you're at the top management positions, you still need to listen to what other people say and whether they agree or not, and listen to your shareholders. And I don't know. There are many types of people and there are many types of lifestyles, but to me, that's not life. Anyway, it's getting, as you know, more and more difficult to have agency, to be in control of your own destiny, to not do something just because somebody else told you to do it. And so we start from a position in which we have to understand these people when they tell, they're lazy, they're not motivated, they've probably never seen anything else. Of course, pressure from parents, from friends. They sink, they soak, they're like sponges that take that all in. And that is really one of the main problems with human beings, is that all they think and the sum total of their behaviors is given by clues, cues, and hints that they receive from others implicitly. All right. So when you tell them, well, if you've got this problem, why don't you just start your business? And they will tell you, I'm tired. When I come home, I'm tired. These people, I think, they are spoiled to the extreme, although they're slaves. I mean, there's a reason they accept being slaves, right? Because there's a benefit. The benefit is to have zero responsibility and zero worry. And I can tell you, you could have responsibilities to your shareholders, to your boss, but that's nothing compared to having a responsibility to yourself, to reality, to the real world, and to your well-being. Because in the end, the real world is not obligated to pay a salary next month, whereas your boss is. And if he's going to fire, there's going to be warning shots and warnings and warnings, and then finally it's going to happen, perhaps. Sometimes it can't even happen because you live in one of those pseudo-capitalistic countries which are actually completely socialistic, such as Greece, Spain, Italy, even in the north of Europe. So it's very hard to fire people. But reality fires you like that. You made a mistake, you lose. So there's evidently a benefit to being reduced to a condition in which you have no agency. Essentially, you're back to square one. You're back to being a child. You grew up and then you went back, right? Like even going to school is a more severe regimen than just going to a job. So these are people who have lost touch or never had any touch with the basic fact that life is war. Doesn't matter if you wake up in the morning, you go out, you hunt, and there are only two possible end states. Do you come back with the animal to eat, or do you not come back empty-handed? They don't have any kind of awareness of this, and so they think that just like you say, but teacher, I forgot to do my homework because blah, blah, blah. They think it's a viable excuse to say, I'm tired. Who cares if you're tired? Nobody. Not me. Nobody cares if you're tired. I mean, if you start from the presupposition that your internal state is going to dictate your actions, and then clearly your actions are going to dictate your future, then you're saying my internal states are going to decide my future. I can't think of a stronger form of abdication of agency than that. You're saying that basically you're a boat in the middle of the ocean and you're just going to go where the waves take you. And I'm telling you, look, there's land over there. So why don't you try to sail straight? And you're saying, yeah, but there's waves. All right, then float the fuck away. I'm tired. So for the people who think that this is an acceptable excuse, or that it's something that you should be thinking or saying to other people even, the way you should think instead is the following. You are held in captivity, and you have only a very limited amount of time during the day, if you have a job, to rescue yourself. So it's like if you're in a forced labor camp and you're breaking rocks all day. I understand perfectly well that when you come back, you're exhausted. But you find a little bit of metal and you figure, with this thing, I can very, very slowly scrape away the first layer of wall that's keeping me in here. And if when you're back, instead of being a bitch and falling asleep, you take this thing and you start hacking away and hacking away and hacking away, and you do it for a very long time, years potentially, then at some point you could get away from this shit. And it's painful to realize it, but clearly there are two types of people. There are the types of people who want to get away, and there are the kinds of people who are just going to say, I'm tired. And what they're really saying is, this is good enough. Because if it weren't good enough, they would never say, I'm tired. Or they'd be scraping that fucking wall and saying, I'm tired, but in the end, they're going to be doing it. But the people who say, no, I'm tired, so I do nothing, they're clearly stating, for me, this is good enough. And, this channel is not for people who think that shit is good enough. Shit ain't good enough. There's ice cream out there. So, the way you should think about this is, all the work that you're doing throughout the day is not for you. It's for somebody else. Okay? So that's not work. That's bullshit. You haven't worked a minute. Once you come back home, you have not worked a single second. That is your morning. When you come back home from work, you make a nice coffee, you take a cold shower, you hit yourself in the fucking face 10 times, 20 times, as many times as it takes to wake up. And if that's not enough, you go and run. Run as fast as you can. Go around your building 5, 10 times. You need to come back and say good morning. Put on some fucking jazz on YouTube. You know, have your Starbucks moment and wake the fuck up, because your work starts now. This is the work that you're doing for yourself. And if you don't do it, who are you letting down? Yourself. So that's what I think when I hear people who say, I'm too tired to work on my business at night. That's your morning. And if you think, no, that's too much work, you need to grow into it. Listen, people who go to the gym for the first time, they can't handle heavy weights, but you start and then you increase the weight and you increase the weight and you increase the weight. And if you keep doing that in 1 or 2 years, you look back at the stuff that you were lifting and you'll think that's really light. So human beings are adaptable. You know, they're adaptable to living in freezing temperatures, extremely hot weather. That's how we got here. We got nothing else. We're fucking dumb, extremely vulnerable. The only thing we got is we adapt to nearly anything. So you can adapt to working 16 hours a day for a couple of years if you really have to, if you really want. The worst part of it will be when you start. So that's my challenge for you, to have a second morning every day, come back from your work and say good morning and start working really, really hard as if you had just woken up. Work hard for yourself. If you don't do it, you're not worth it. That's something you need to decide for yourself. I forgot what I used to say at the end of the videos, something about vaginas. Yeah, tattoo it on your vagina. I haven't done any of these videos for quite a long time. Don't do it, actually. I changed my mind. For all of you people who got a tattoo on your vagina, I'm sorry, but, you know, take it off. Do some laser thing. It was a bad idea. Cheers.